Hello, everybody. So we are very happy to start the first roundtable of this edition of Text World Evolution. The topic of this specific panel is what the Web3 might mean for the apparel and textile industry. So let's jump to the future of fashion. It will be all in English, but you can take a headset to have the direct translation in French. So let's start by a short introduction of our speakers. So Mireille, maybe you can introduce you in a few words.
I can, definitely. Hello everyone, nice to be here at Text World. My name is Mireille Paquet and I'm a Web3 advisor in fashion and gaming and a lecturer at SMOD Fashion Business School and other fashion schools. I also do mentoring for an accelerator program called Outlier Ventures, teaming up with Farfetched, and the idea is to promote the new startups that are going to be the future of the Web3.
Thank you.
I'm Leslie Holden. I'm the co-founder of the Digital Fashion Group, which is an online education to support young creatives to learn about what digital fashion is and to give them the mindset and the skills to become digital creatives, but not just for them, but also for academics. We work with universities to help them understand how to change their curriculum to pivot towards a digital curriculum. And I write lots of articles on digital.
Thank you very much. So not only for young creatives, also
not
for...
only
okay.
for people like me as well. Over 20.
But you look so young, so...
Thank you.
Julien?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So, Julian Paredes. I am head of partnership at Tropy, which is a platform to create, build, and collect utilities based on NFTs. Before that, I used to work on the World First Fashion Week on Decentraland with different kind of brands. Like Mireille, I am also advisor and consultant in gaming and blockchain also. So happy also to meet you today.
Thank you. Hi, Kirke.
Yes, hi, hello, bonjour. My name is Kirke, and I'm the founder of Scopo Studio, which started around a little bit more than 2 years ago. And what we do is all kinds of 3D visualization projects for all kinds of brands, startup brands, or also like bigger manufacturers. So the visualization can be just for marketing purposes, or it can be throughout a little bit more throughout the supply chain. So all kinds of different projects been there for 2 years. And also I'm the co-founder, that doesn't say here, but now I'm the co-founder of eva.co, where we build a digital supply chain ecosystem where you could see, instead of coming to this trade show, for example, you could have access to digital fabrics, play around with them in 3D for your product development, and then source your fabrics. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Nicolas.
Hello everyone. So I'm Nicolas, the founder of Futures Factory, which is a platform that helps designers and brands in footwear to create their projects, whether it's virtual-only sneakers or digital sneakers. And I also co-founded Satoshi Studio, a sneaker brand established in 2018. That was the first footwear brand to use NFTs to enhance transparency.
Okay, so let's start by this short introduction. So we know that many fashion brands create 3D products now. And these products are intended to test the reaction of the public before they are designed or not in real life, to be sold as NFTs, why not, or to reach a certain audience in the metaverse. So my first question would be, could you give some example of interaction between the innovations associated with the Web3 and the fashion and textile sector? Maybe it's not so clear for everyone what the Web3 might mean. So maybe you can also give an overview, an example that will clarify what we are talking about and how textile and fashion professionals could use those technologies to go further in what they are doing. So, Mireille?
So, do you want me to start with the definition of Web3?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Web3 is the next iteration of the web. So Web 2 was for read and write, what you could do on social media and provide content. The Web3 is considered to be the decentralized next iteration of internet on the blockchain, meaning that it will allow you to read, write, and have ownership of the content that you own, that you have on the authenticated on the blockchain. It's there's another specific definition that's summarizing it and making it more simple.
Thank you.
And the question was to provide an example of fashion. There are multiple ones. I think it's really hard to choose. But I think in the recent light of the disappearance of Paco Rabanne, there's one very interesting way that Paco Rabanne questioned this idea of the savoir-faire and the artisanat and the experimental nature of what fashion has been ever since the 60s. So they did a partnership with Selfridges, which is a big department store in London, producing NFTs on Paco Rabanne's first ever collection, which was called 12 Unwearable Dresses made in unusual materials, which were rhodoid and other materials. So they did this with NFTs, and the rendering is really quite beautiful. And they did this as a partnership with Selfridges.
Okay, thank you. Any other example?
Yeah, there are many, many examples, as you say. For me, a key example or a key advantage, in a way, of Web3 is that because it's decentralized, so it's not run by any one huge organization. So, for example, Web 2, it's Facebook or Meta, these kind of companies who have ownership of all the data. Everything that you put into Web 2, they can use for whatever reason they want, whereas Web 3, you own your own data to do with it as you will. It is an amazing opportunity for young creatives to build their own brands on Web3 without having to go through the structure and the rigors of a traditional fashion system where you would have to have a studio with machinists, with go to retailers, etc. When I first graduated, it was a nightmare and enough to put anybody off being in fashion. And now there's many more opportunities for young designers to actually build their own brands in Web3, if they have the knowledge and the technology, if they come and study at the Digital Design Group. But there are so many levels and layers of Web3, so maybe I can also touch on the fact that it gives clear access to reliable data because of the blockchain. And perhaps then we can pass that on to someone else who can take it on from there.
Maybe about before, because you mentioned also something really interesting about decentralization. Yeah. And today, fortunately for you, I am wearing something that was born by a young designer, Louise Lang. So a company called Digital Twin. So she is merging the physical world and the digital world. And the collaboration, I think you know Bored Ape Yacht Club, one of the biggest NFT projects. So I am part of a decentralized organization, so a DAO, totally decentralized. Decentralized. And she is a centralized company. But by merging these two entities, so a physical entity, Digital Twin, and decentralized organization, we have made this hoodie. So nothing really special, but this one is made on demand, so unique, and no water used. So it's also tackled many of the issue, I would say, of the fashion industry, because many people say, okay, you use a lot of water, you burn a lot of stock when it isn't sold. So this kind of thing, as you mentioned, young designer can also piggyback the big company in Web3, such as Bored Ape or Yuga Labs, which is one of the biggest, I would say. And so here you have something that you could do also, because you might have a textile company. You just have to link or to team up with an NFT project. And believe me, they will be happy to do partnership with you.
Thank you.
I would continue on the merging topic. So I've seen also from the clients that I've worked with, it's important to kind of add the value. So the digital is really like physical plus digital is really something that the consumers are starting to understand. When it's only digital, they don't. I've also seen that they have a lot of questions. Of course, like, why would I want to wear a digital dress? Like, tell me why. And so they're like still, it is a new topic. So, but the brands can really easily see there's so many scattered. Actually, Web3 doesn't mean 3D. You can have an NFT as a picture as well. It doesn't have to be made digitally. So there's like all these sort of ideas, possibilities scattered around. But the most value comes out when you still merge some ideas. For example, that, you can start a brand, as Julian said, without like manufacturing anything. This we've done a lot as well. You just create a really hyper-realistic 3D render of your design. You already create value for the customers. If you want to add value, you can create it as an NFT and start a community around it, have really like strong brand story behind it. And then maybe like half a year or year later, you only start producing if. So there's all kinds of ways to merge. And this is why I find the topic so exciting, because it enables so many new business models. And usually, when it's like merged with the 3D visualization, then these business models are also much more sustainable.
Yes, especially regarding the way we can produce on order, as you said, on demand. It's been a long time since like we discovered that it would be amazing to not have so many remaining stocks. And I think 3D fashion can tackle efficiently this issue. Do you have a last example to provide, Nicolas?
Yes,
maybe?
And I will bounce on what Julien and Kirke said about the on-demand production or even pre-sale. So for Satoshi Studio, for example, this is what we're doing right now. We used tokens to evaluate the demand, and then we enhance the experience for owners, and then we ship it. And then you can also have experiences after that. And to give one example, I saw recently the launch of the brand from G-Money and the Artblocks founder. I forgot his name of the brand, but 90cc, something like this. And the cool thing is that they mix the on-demand production with like the art generative directly on demand. So you are here, you can mint your token, and a script will generate your art. And you also directly have your T-shirts printed, and you live with both. So that's pretty cool.
Wow. Thank you. So my second question is, what are the current limits of the virtual fashion experience? What we can't do yet?
There are many. There are technical limitations due to the low quality of graphics. The question of interoperability, meaning your ability to be able to carry through cross virtual worlds your digital assets, which is a big question. It's not only technical, but it's also jurisdictional. There's a limitation also in terms of what it does to mental health. Well, concerns into what it could do to mental health. From what I heard on a recent study, there was a whistleblower from Meta that had worked on the metaverse and said that it might in the future be highly addictive for people who are in the midst of their construction of their identities. So in terms of what it does to self-esteem, self-concept, and other aspects of it.
That was a very good summary. Thank you. What can I add to that? Limitations. I think we are really, really in the embryonic stages of Web3, the metaverse, NFTs, all that kind of thing. NFTs were kind of the key word last year with the metaverse, and now people have lost a lot of faith in NFTs because they've lost a lot of value. It's all linked to cryptocurrency, which people are not so sure about yet. It's a complex subject. So even us sitting here explaining it to you is complex. It's complex for us. It's also, I can feel if you know nothing about it, then it's a minefield of complexity. So that's really important that we get over that hurdle and we make it more user-friendly in a way, that people feel more comfortable with the idea that basically the internet will move towards another dimension. It will be an internet that won't just be in your laptop, but it will be around your whole life in many ways. You will be able to, for example, from my area, from education, you will be able to quite easily live in a village in rural Africa, but study at a university in in Europe or in the States, because you could go to the digital twin of that university in immersive reality. And these kind of opportunities are enormous, but we're only feeling a kind of whisper of these possibilities at the moment. So I wouldn't worry about that. I think the limitations are about how far on we are. Like with technology, technology isn't as advanced as our imaginations are. There's still a long way to go in actually achieving what we think it's all about. For me, I would say that was the key limitation, and also people's belief in a way, well, is this really happening? Is this just a fad? Maybe next year it'll be something else. We started the Digital Fashion Group from a belief that the digitalization of the fashion industry was an incredibly important movement to ensure a more sustainable industry. And that is still our main goal. And the Web3 can help enormously in making this industry more sustainable. So even from that very, very low threshold point of thinking, what does this mean for me as professionals in the fashion industry, you must be aware that it is one of the most polluting industries in the world, and we must all work together in finding ways to make it less polluting. And digital is, I say, the key answer to helping us do that.
Okay, so it's also a big challenge because I guess many of the suppliers that we can meet here, they have invested a lot to produce physical fashion, and not yet they are not yet like investing the Web3, and they maybe don't have time for that, or they don't know how to do. That's why we are presenting this conversation in this place, Textile Evolution. But maybe you could like provide or tell us what can the Web3 do for a more sustainable fashion in regards to what we are already doing in factories and what brands can do, because we like the sustainability of fashion is a complex topic as well. We can act at different level of the value chain, and we can like address this issue by deciding to produce less, but it's also something very complicated because, of course, the business models of the fashion companies are based on volumes. So how do you think the Web3 can help to make the move toward more sustainable businesses in fashion?
No.
Anyway, I know you have plenty of things to say about this, Leslie, but maybe first
Leslie
we
can start, maybe.
Well,
yeah, maybe let's start by you.
Well, for me, it's very simple. The part of the fashion value chain from ideation through to product presentation in a virtual showroom to customers can be totally digital. There's no need for any samples. Every single sample needs probably about 7 iterations before it's agreed on. Huge amount of waste. Buyers coming from all over the world, etc., etc. All that can be done on a virtual showroom. It can be ordered from the digital avatar virtual showroom, and the order's placed on-demand manufacturing. So you only go to the factory to place your order when you have the order. So that would be the first level, how to make the industry more sustainable, because then you have less waste, and then we don't have every second somewhere on the planet a truckload of textile waste being dumped into landfill. So maybe someone else wants to go on from there.
Yeah, I would. I'm sorry. I would also say what I'm telling to my clients as well is that you can, especially now it comes to like 3D, which is like, it's not really Web3. And I would say one thing as well is that when using these terms like Web3 and NFT, it might sound really like scary to people who have no idea of it. So for me, it's all about like going gradually. So starting maybe, because this is really like easy to understand, that when you use 3D instead of those 7 samples, okay, you might end up still like with 1 or 2 samples, physical samples, but the amount of samples that you can reduce is enormous. So when you start with 3D from there, then I've also, we have some clients who use 3D in the product development, and then they send literally the files to us, like, hey, we don't have anyone who you know knows rendering and who can like produce a really high quality and consumer facing content of it. So we turn it into, let's say, an animation or just a product photo shoot that like everyday person wouldn't even see that it's 3D. So they don't even notice the difference. So then you start taking the 3D a little bit like further in the supply chain until you get to like marketing content, and then you can even further on go to really the Web3 element, which for me, for like fashion brands, it's also about community. Is what I've seen is that and this comes also sort of to the limitation, because there is a lot of limitation, technical limitation. Then I always suggest these brands, and I see that as well, those brands who have really like big brand story. Either it is a family-led brand, or they're doing something totally different. They have some sort of material that is innovative, and they have this whole story. So Web3 in terms of virtual showroom, or getting the community really sort of offering some value to the community, then it makes sense, because Web3 just enables the way to like communicate your story a lot better. So yeah, I would say in conclusion, for the sustainability part, it's really important, as for any industry actually. If you just do your business as you do, and then you just add on, you just create some NFTs here and there, that comes on top of what you're already doing, then we kind of really talk about that it's a sustainable option. Then it becomes a little bit like greenwashing even. So when you take these tools of virtual showroom, of 3D visuals, and take them into a supply chain, actually like changing something or implementing these, then we can talk about like I don't really like this word anymore because everybody's talking about sustainability, but then we can already talk about like more positive impact to the environment that you're doing with your brand or business.
Maybe Nicolas and then Mireille.
Yes, a quick word. So, like you said, the fashion industry is mostly based on big volumes, especially for manufacturers that we can see here. And Web3 is also, like we said, it's mainly focused on users, giving back the ownership to users. But it can help, like brands, like we said, to change a bit their production model to be closer to users and to have more. Let's say, demand-driven models. So in that sense, I think Web3 generally can offer alternatives in their models to brands. And so that's interesting. And I think users will have like the last word if we have more brands acting like this and be really direct to consumer and have better models. I think we can make this industry better.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to be the bad advocate in the conversation, saying that I think we all know that sustainability is kind of at the core of digital fashion. Sometimes to the extent that it might be used from brands to actually justify their non-sustainable goals or not meeting their sustainable goals for the as an industry. But I think it's part of the solution, but probably not all of it, because there are so many different stakeholders involved that it remains complicated. I think for an industry to, ideally, it would be. I mean, a lot of brands like Uniqlo and Levi's are considering doing, just on-demand order, and also using micro factories like Louise. To become more sustainable, but I think it's going to take time to get everybody on board. When you look at the product life cycle of a garment, it sometimes involves so many different stages of manufacturing. That means, the only way you can do it is by involving the blockchain, perhaps, with more traceability, more transparency. But I think it remains very complicated as a whole.
Yes.
If I can also, maybe, because you ask a good question, I would say. Why, as a big company, I should jump into Web3, reduce my production? Why? I would say, I would take an example. It's like we all eat food, I would say. But before that, we won't really eat about bio food or things like that. But now we saw a change of paradigm. And so the client had here. And in my opinion, it's the same. This revolution of mindset is happening also in the fashion industry, at least. And so you already have the customer here waiting for you to jump into that. On top of that, your customer are just waiting also to be part of the process. For example, in many Web3 or digital companies, they are asking to their customer, okay, here for design. Okay, let's vote. And at the end, you have a final design that fits to the global, I would say, the global will or the global field, maybe, yeah. And so you will also have something that fits better to your client also at some point, and to your also to maybe to add some more example also. How this industry can also leverage this technology. I remember, I will share with you two examples. So one, I used to work with Ralph Lauren during the Wimbledon, the tennis tournament, and they implement, like a physical showroom during the tournament. And when you went as a physical person, a human, into the showroom, boom, you had a camera all around you, and you just have to click one color or another, and you saw the future the future collection just in front of you on the camera. And so that also in my mind could also help me, at least because I hate to go to the shopping mall or thing like that. So it could also help me to say, okay, this one really fits me. So if I buy it, I know that okay, I can go outside. I can be proud of what I am wearing. So I won't wear it once or twice and throw it, or maybe. So that's one thing. The second, regarding the voting for choosing a design. Also, we are also working right now with Lacoste, so not on that specific point, but they have an NFT collection, and they ask to every NFT holder to vote on specific design. At the end, they had their custom T-shirts. It's nothing really crazy, but it's the beginning. So for me, it's a huge power that brands should take advantage of, because you are not. It's in my view, yeah, it's total change of paradigm. You are not now just selling and take it and buy it, but now, okay, we are selling something because it's our core business, but what you want to buy. And so maybe we can grow together in that change of industry. And I think that's the main points of Web3 when we speak of brand and also consumer.
I would just quickly conclude. First of all, I'm a huge believer in AR as well. But yeah, it's all about how to change our behavior as consumers, like adding more value to what you're wearing. And these exact things, like even voting for the brand, you have more value when you end up having the custom T-shirt. So yeah, you take care of it, even if it gets, you have a hole in it, you're not throwing it away, or maybe get it repaired even. So it's all about adding value, and the Web3 community and all these sort of ideas are really helping with that.
And maybe to her point, I think we all know football. And some football fans say every year when they release, the first jersey, the second and the third, they all say, oh, what the fuck is that? It doesn't represent ourselves, it doesn't represent our cities. But you can have the fan government. It's like the same thing. I was involved in the hiring process for Paris Saint-Germain football team, and they have this problem. They say, okay, whenever we launch a jersey, every year we have people whining, crying, and say, no, it doesn't represent Paris. But I just said to them, why don't ask to your fan? And maybe they will be happier. I don't know. It's obvious, but they are always sit in their chair and they don't listen to their consumer at the end.
So yeah, I think we all know that it's always very satisfying for the consumer to be involved in the creation process, but when you mention your example, it's not that intuitive, because of course we can personalize the garment regarding the style chosen by the customers, regarding the available fabrics and prints, but what about the size? And I want to ask this question to you, because we all say, yes, we can create personalized fabrics, but what about we all know that in ready-to-wear fashion, it's almost impossible now to make made-to-measure fashion, except for very small companies working directly with the client and with very high added value products. So how could the Web3 help? Or maybe I guess some kind of 3D technologies and associated with sensors, how could it help ready-to-wear brands to go closer to the size of their customer?
I fully understand your question, not so easy, but maybe I will try to answer with an example again. I used to have the chance, the luck to work with a beautiful designer called Danit Peleg, and she is working on 3D printed. And she's working also with a great NFT project called Nuns DAO. And what she's doing, she's basically recycling plastic, and she's creating garments basically directly on 3D printing, with 3D prints. And then when you have, you can say to her, okay, this is my size, L, XL, whatever. She sends you the file, and you have 3D printing manufacturer everywhere in the world. And she's working with manufacturer in Paris, in Croatia, because I think she's come from Croatia, if I am not wrong. Sorry, Danid, if you are here. But yeah, so she just sends you the file, and you just have to produce it directly.
This
at some
has
point.
been like my dream, so it's so wonderful to hear that it's actually like working already. This is what I've been talking about, like, oh, maybe in the future we just receive the file and just go to like a small shop and just produce it.
And you will see the
so cool.
défilé of that in NFT Paris this year. She's
Awesome.
producing something.
All right, but I also have a funny like story, because we have we've been through several partners who offer virtual fitting, and there are like different sort of types of it. And I tried once, you know, with the body scanner, you have just your phone and you just stand in front of it and scan, and then you see like your avatar in the the web store, and you can try different garments on top of it and see from the fit map like how is it gonna fit. But I saw a really interesting phenomenon with it. So I scanned myself and saw myself in exact full like measurements in 3D with my face on it and everything, with the textures. I was like, God, I wanted to like close it. Like, I don't want to see myself in like exact measurements. So then I started thinking, you know, there is a reason why we have slimming mirrors in the stores and really good lighting, so it would look better. So after that, I'm probably not the only one. I don't know if it's a female thing or a male thing as well, but it's just like I kind of lost my belief in it a little bit. So now I'm like, I believe in the AR a little bit more, because it's like, it's more, it's more gamified, it's really fun, it's really easy. The tech is kind of, it's not that good, but it's gonna get better. So I believe in that, but it doesn't like give you like the size fit. So it's a different thing a little bit, but yeah, it's complex topic.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So yeah, we can use the technology to go like in how to say, another kind of reality, maybe a more attractive one, which is maybe the problem that you mentioned before regarding mental health at a certain point.
But the thing
but
is,
we can also use it to go closer to the reality regarding the size issue, for instance.
There is a quick solution. It doesn't have to be visible. Like, you can just suggest the size. So it's okay. So.
So one last question is, who are yes, let's talk about the final customer. Who are the virtual fashion buyers, and how do you think the consumption of virtual fashion items will go? Because I guess for the moment we are all like, any of you has already buy virtual fashion products in the metaverse? So that's my question, because we know that there are people buying virtual clothing in the metaverse. Maybe certainly young people, or maybe not. I am curious to have some data about who are the first customer of fashion, of virtual fashion and NFTs.
I think probably not enough customers to the taste of people who are producing 3D digital fashion. There are some numbers from Dressix that I saw, where they said that dominantly they are young, between, I mean, the target age is 18 to 25 for brands, Generation Z, and also the Alpha generation. But when you look at the numbers on Roblox, they're very, very young. I mean, they're 9 to 12. They're essentially in the creators' economy of Roblox, creating a digital fashion, but also wearing it. I think ultimately, when we do reach mass adoption, more people will wear them. But Dressix says that they specifically have people that produce, that use virtual fashion to produce social content. meaning that if you are an influencer and you want to wear a dress from Paco Rabanne, for example, then you can use it once, it's a one-off, and then you don't need to have it in your closet after that. So I think they also mentioned that they also have people from 30 to 40 that probably just wanted to try it and decided after that 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 was great, and they came back. So I don't have the exact numbers, but we know that brands are dominantly targeting the Gen Z, who are driven by inclusivity, diversity, and that's what they want in those spaces. They want to see, they want to experiment, I guess, a lot. They want to have inclusive spaces, and they want to be have different sizes. You talked about sizes. And be someone else, or perhaps a fictional version of themselves.
60 billion is what they estimate the industry will be worth by 2026. But to put that into context, the traditional fashion industry is worth over 2 trillion. So it's a drop in the ocean compared to the traditional fashion industry. And what we've talked about here is very much one concept of what virtual fashion or the digitalization of fashion could be or will be, but there's also so many other levels to that. And just to kind of shift a little bit before you move on to someone else, I think it's really important to flag up one of the most important digital shifts that is happening at the moment in France first, which is the adoption of the digital passports. This will have huge ramifications for the industry. And what I think is so important is the power of blockchain, which is at the core of Web3, going through the whole of the fashion industry. So you will go into a store, you will see a garment that you like, you'll take it off the rail, you'll put it on, it will fit you, you go through all these checks, and then you will look at the digital passport and you'll see the information about where that garment was made, how it was made, how much water was used. Every pair of jeans is used, 7,500 litres of water for a pair of jeans. How many years of water is that for you to drink? So that kind of information will really make people question why they are buying physical clothes. Mm-hmm. It will also make the fashion industry much more aware of giving the right messages to the consumer, or the right information to the consumer. When everything is on the blockchain, you cannot invent this kind of information. It is there, it's immutable, you cannot change it. It is there by the users. And one of the problems we have with Web 2 is that these large companies can do whatever they want with the information, and they can change that as they like. Web 3 being decentralized, the information and the data is given by the users or the creators. So I would say that is the core of what Web 3 is about. And it's not necessarily about wearing an AR dress or going into dress X. So that's just small things that Web3 can really change the entire fashion industry.
This digital passport part is exactly actually what we're building with eva.co. And we're building the widgets in the end, like coming from the fabric manufacturer, because fabric is mostly what the garment consists of. And there in the widget, like when you go to some brand's web store, you can actually see a world map and see where it has traveled, and see all the certifications that have been validated, because these are also very often that just some suppliers just put out there. So it is definitely, although we don't really work yet with blockchain, it is just a simple sort of platform, but definitely blockchain is there for the validation part that you cannot really tamper with. But yeah.
And yeah, to your example, also in other industry, it's already happened. Yes. Like in the food industry, I guess it was Carrefour or Casino, I don't remember. But you can track the chicken from when they birth and to your plate. So it's already happened. One thing I will nuance here is who creates the blockchain. It is a centralized blockchain. It is a decentralized blockchain as you dream of. And if it is a centralized one, you can put whatever you want in it. And that's the big issue.
Then there's no point.
And
yes, there is no point.
Also the energy.
Exactly, exactly. So we have to also take care, and it comes from education. If everyone is well educated enough, they will understand what are the pros, what are the cons, in my opinion. And to your question regarding the demographics, I am a gamer by nature. I used to get paid when I was young to play World of Warcraft, and things like that. So I am truly convinced that actually, for me, the gamers are pioneers. They are not afraid. They go in somewhere that they don't know how to play. They take the keyboard, they roll their head into the keyboard. Okay, I jump, I go left. They are really pioneers. And so for me, gamers, so young people, as you mentioned, I have many friends who have children. They go on Roblox and they are killing it. Honestly, it's crazy to see how. But there is also cons on that. As parents, you have also to take care about what they are doing, what they see, and things like that. On top of that, I used to work at Boson Protocol for the World First Fashion Week, and we were the last fashion company in the world. But they have bought, the Dolce & Gabbana suit, the first one done in digital and physical for more than 1 million. But why? It was also, of course, for a collection. It was more or less for that, and also for PR, press release, and media, and things like that. I also know some famous collectors, like Pronsky, an anonymous guy in the UK, and he used to create NFTs, and he bought also Dolce & Gabbana thing for I don't remember how many millions, but he don't wear any fashion things. And why he buy that? Just for history and for collection. In my opinion, that. And we mentioned Dressix. We have seen also Madonna wearing some Dressix AR and VR stuff, but I don't know if they are friends. Maybe if it was also some a PR, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
So, yes, so to bounce on what Julien said, blockchain or not, digital fashion is already like a huge industry just thanks to gamers. We see by itself like Fortnite is already like $1 billion business just selling skins. And on the
skins are avatars.
Skins, avatars, and wearables that you can customize your avatar. But for the Web3 side, like all the new actors like Dressix, The Fabricant, it's a whole new population, I would say. Most of them are creatives. So we collaborated with The Fabricant and Dressix also. And we know that it's mainly young people, mostly in Europe, into fashion already. And most of them are already creators. So the funny thing is that in Web3 fashion, like you don't have a lot of people and it's huge sales, for example. On the other side, outside of Web3, you have skins and digital clothes for $10 on Fortnite or even less. So it's funny, the difference between them.
Yes, Mirai.
I think the average spending is 5 to 10 in digital fashion for, which explains also the original interest from gamers who, I think skins are more, there are more volumes sold in skins than there are in digital fashion at the moment. But there's always been, I mean, skins has always been something that you pay free, but you have to buy a skin. That's a transition.
3 billion gamers. That's crazy. Unbelievable.
I heard every third person is a gamer. I don't know how it ends up, but I've heard that statistic. It's a lot.
And I think we can all agree on the fact that gaming is going to be a huge part of the future of virtual spaces. We can't call it the metaverse yet because it doesn't have a standard definition, but we know the gaming provides levels of engagement that nothing else provides. I think Julien can agree on that. And the hybrid connection between fashion and gaming has been slow to come, but now it's practically embedded in every brand. Gucci's been doing it. Balenciaga's been doing it for years. When they did, Afterworld, the Age of Tomorrow. They presented one of their collections during the COVID, so looking forward to that part.
And maybe also one advice that we can give you, or at least it's like I have seen many brands jumping into the metaverse or digital realm. Just, okay, we have done this digital wearable, and that's all, come and buy. But it's not at all about that, because I would say in the real world, when you go out, you go for culture, you go to meet friends, you go to, because there is an happening, entertainment. And not from, at least for me, I don't go to see a new hoodie. But in the real life, yeah, when we saw Supreme, I say we see people in the street. So it is culture, it is also innovation, and it would say entertainment, or also when you meet people. So don't forget to also bring culture into your innovation, because just selling garments, it's not gonna work.
Yes, but I understand that for any of us who like fashion, like it's also a way to wear something from a brand that or fashion designer we love and we can't afford in real life. So it's very also exciting for not only gamers, but maybe people who have an Instagram account, for instance, to wear something like in 3D, but that even if it's not for real life, to be just for the image, you know. I don't know. But I'm surprised that of course, we have seen our influencer wearing amazing 3D pieces on Instagram, but it's not yet something super like developed. Mm-hmm. And I think brands are not already playing as much as they could with this thing, like the virtual image of their consumer and the participating way to create clothes and accessories.
I think, I don't know if it's working. Yeah, sorry. I think if I can add, one thing is it's something that we need to educate people about how to connect your wallet, how to wear, what it means to, in terms of identity, to wear virtual digital clothing in virtual spaces. There's a whole lot that will go through education, and I'm not saying this because I'm an educator, but I know that it will be if we want to have mass adoption, we need to go through that stage. I mentored recently in the far-fetched Outlier Venture program a company called Alter. They don't necessarily do digital fashion for the sake of it. What they do is they do it for the preservation of archival fashion and heritage legacy brands. So the idea that today their pieces are contained in what we call their physicality, and they provide a 3D version that will allow them to go beyond that physicality. And they used as a point of departure the Kim Kardashian issue with Marilyn Monroe's dress. She could just have worn a digital version of the dress, aside from wearing the actual one. That would have saved many of the issues that the curators of the museum are now facing, and the.
And maybe also to your point, I don't know if people are ready, but when I have seen, I think we all know Pokemon Go. I think, and we have seen in the news people going into the White House garden to collect Pokemon. It's crazy. And I just think that if you bring something that people want, they will use it. That's my belief, at least. And Niantic, the company behind this specific game, are done a terrific thing. And I'm just waiting to a digital or physical treasure hunt to see something happening like that. And when you will collect all the item, it can be difficult. Maybe you will earn, or you will earn like a scarce wearable from top to shoes, and that could be something scarce, not expensive, because it will be your time and your brain to find the clue. But I'm waiting to see this kind of thing.
This is exactly how you add value for the customer. We also were working on a campaign with a partner who creates virtual showrooms, and they create the treasure hunt within the virtual showroom, so you can easily have like some collection launch in there and have something similar to like Pokemon Go, but not in AR, not in real life, but you have to like investigate through the virtual showroom. This is also what Imperia does. Imperia also, who creates virtual showrooms, who's also a partner of us, and they did that, I think, with one of the latest, I think it was Bloomingdale's. They also had some small treasure hunts. So it's all about adding this sort of gamification or value to your end customer. Then it just makes it exciting. You just want to try it. You have to make it really simple as well.
Yeah. So we have just 5 minutes remaining for questions. So do you have questions in the audience? Yes?
Hi, everyone. I introduce myself quickly. I'm Charlene. I am working in the garment industry as pattern maker, and I'm collaborating with my friend Liv. And I do have a question. I am really sensible with the digital creation. I do myself do 3D for my client, and then I'm doing all the grading and so on, inclusivity, to promote that, definitely, because we need it. My question for you is there a way to collaborate, for example, to take your files and to make sure that, okay, the customer wants exactly the web3 garment, am I able then to translate it and to do production with that? Is there a way, like format and stuff?
Yeah, well, which software are you using now?
I'm working with quite a lot of sample of software, like Cloud 3D, Browseware, Gerber technology as well.
So, I mean, really, that was what you were talking about earlier. Kiki was talking about how you go from Clo into other software for the rendering, so like Marvelous or Daz, or so you create that kind of rendered image. But in a way, you're kind of jumping over many steps. So Clo is great, but Clo is much more for the creative. It's not so good for patterns.
Definitely.
And it doesn't, the files don't read very well into manufacturing. So Browseware is much better for product development, for example, or Optitrex or Lectra, where it fits better into the manufacturing. But not enough factories yet can still can read the digital files. So that's another hurdle you have. From what I was saying earlier about the first part of the process, the first part, the supply chain, up till you can sell the garments on a virtual showroom, is really easy to do. You can do that all with Clo.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
a low barrier to learn that. When it goes into the manufacturing, that's when it hits a brick wall of analog, because they're not digitalized enough. So how we actually get that manufacturing part of fashion, which is the biggest part of it, to digitalize quicker is a huge question, because it's very expensive.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I would also how we work is actually that we have the pattern from the client already, so the DXF file basically, and then we take that into Clo and create anything that is that they need. I've gotten very many clients coming, like creating new brands, saying like, hey, so you create the 3D, so you just export the pattern file and then we just put it to production and then it's done. Okay, no. Okay. So we actually have said we don't export any patterns. Even though we are all in the team, we are technical people as well. We know pattern making, but it's still like you still have the sample. So when you say, "Yeah, we'll export the pattern file for you," then they might understand. Okay, then I just put it into production, but you still need some samples there, of course. The 3D is really, you can manipulate it with, as you know as well, you can manipulate in the 3D, and still the text, the fabric is not accurate enough, and there's a lot of things coming from there. But if you mean like to take your files to, let's say, we also have a few clients in the spatial, like metaverse for virtual showroom.
Exactly,
then it's what we use is actually Blender in between, because of the file size. So in Clo you get amazing hyper-realistic garments, but it's like millions of like particles. The poly count is a lot. So it's like 10 times more than it can be, or more, that it can be used also in the AR or in metaverse. So then we actually have like a separate person for that who is a general 3D designer. It depends on the garment. If it's really easy, like a t-shirt, then it can be done. You can also use a higher particle distance in the cloth file. It might be okay. But yeah, if it's complex, if there's a lot of tiny details and things like that, then it's a process to get the file size down to be used in Metaverse.
Okay, but then it's still possible. Like I can go to Blender and then try to get the file and so on. Okay, thank you so much. Cool.
All my friends are using Blender because yeah, it's metaverse ready, gaming ready. It's like the best software to use it. But you also have the way around. If you have your physical garment, you can also digitalize it, and it's easier. Yeah, that's it. And you have a big a cool company, not so big, but they are really cool, called Tridium, and they are digitalizing the physical garment. They are working with Cartier, things like that, Joe Wheeler, and it's quite not easy,
Automatic?
but they have a software. I don't know if it is public, but they have a software, and they are launching a new one called Versatile. And Versatile, you just come with an NFT, for example, and boom, you have, I guess, 4 steps. And you do, in French, I don't know, when you are doing a 3D, you have to do a mannequin or something like that. Yeah, that's it. And you have different kind of process, VRSTL.io. And it's on beta right now, and they will launch, I would say, in the coming months.
Yeah, there's a lot of startups in the area of like 2D to 3D, this automatic thing. But I've also talked to one Estonian startup who does the same. Their clients is actually Farfetch as well. But it's still, they say like there's still a lot of manual work to it. So the tech is not really there. And so from picture to 3D, so there's, yeah, it's really difficult. But I can see like, it's getting there. It needs probably some more time, but yeah.
One question maybe for you that could help, or I don't know. Could AI also help? Because I have seen something about AI and pattern, but since I'm not used to that, I don't know. But does someone here has tried it?
I think I worked with a startup in the program, which is called Curie, C-U-R-I-E. But they're doing it mostly for sneakers because it's easier, and they're using AI. So I think it's OpenAI initially, to optimize the number of for brands. Yes. They're doing it for brands, so you can look them up and see what they're doing. But for the moment, it's very restricted to sneakers.
I think Eva and James also in France. Eva and James, they were working with artificial intelligence to translate the 2D into 3D. I'm not sure. Do you have a last question in the audience? One last question? No? So maybe you can discuss further with our speaker after the roundtable, and we will have another one about second-hand fashion and the new business models involving it in 15 minutes. Do you have a conclusion, maybe, any of you?
I would say if you want to learn more about Web3,
in one sentence,
educate yourself to it, because it's going to be there very quickly. So in a more simplified way.
Thank you.
Everything starts with education.
Be wild, learn, test, fail, and succeed.
Gosh, this is educate and just like try it out. Don't be afraid, I guess so.
And if you're afraid, try to ask someone that is already in it. It's the easiest way to go. Just ask people.
Thank you very much to all of you.